On January 27, 2022, Corrado Pesce, a renowned alpinist and mountain guide, reached new heights of greatness by successfully establishing a new route up the north face of Cerro Torre, along with his close friend, Tomas Aguiló. This incredible feat proved to be one of his last achievements, however, as disaster struck them during their descent. A torrent of rock, ice, and snow struck the climbing duo. Cerro Torre is a towering peak that rises above the southern Patagonia ice field on the borders of Chile and Argentina. Standing at the height of 3,128 meters, Cerro Torre is considered one of the most complex and challenging mountains in the world, attracting the most experienced and skilled climbers. The mountain is known for its difficult climbing routes and challenging weather conditions. Its characteristic and iconic shape, including a steep granite peak and prominent ice mushroom formation at the summit. Besides, Cerro Torre is known for its breathtaking beauty and attracts many adventurers who want to conquer its slopes. One of these adventurous climbers was 41-year-old Corrado Pesce, also known as Korra. Korra, one of the strongest alpinists and mountain guides of his generation, was born in 1981 in Novara, Italy. His childhood love of mountains later drove him to the mountains, where he worked in the mountain huts of Margherita and Torino. At age 19, he moved to Chamonix, where he later became an alpine guide after taking exams at the French guide school. With his expertise in climbing ice routes and mixed routes, he quickly gained recognition in the field after climbing some of the most challenging routes in the Mont Blanc Massif, the Indian Himalayas, and on the other side of the Alps in Patagonia. He visited Patagonia repeatedly over the years, mesmerized by its incredible mountains, breathtaking landscapes, and legendary routes. Talking about Patagonia, which he regarded as his second home, Korra once said, "This is a special place for me." On January 21, 2022, Korra met Tomas Roy Aguiló in El Chalten, a small mountain village in Argentina that provides a getaway to trails around the peaks of Cerro Torre. Tomas is an Argentinian expert mountaineer, as well as a close friend of Korra, who had accompanied him on various mountain journeys before. The duo has made several attempts to climb the north wall of Cerro Torre in previous years, but had yet to achieve success. However, it did not discourage the pair, and their determination and passion to climb the new route up Cerro Torre got more robust with time. It became one of their most prominent dreams. After weather conditions were found suitable, the duo undertook another attempt on January 24th to climb Cerro Torre via a new route on the north face, which had fascinated them for years. After a long and exhausting 8-hour trek, they reached the Noruegos camp. The wall of the mountain was quite snowy. They decided to spend the next day in camp so that the sun could clear the mountainside. On January 26th at about 1:15 a.m., they approached the glacier and began climbing the 3 ropes. By noon, they reached the camp on a rocky point with a large granite slab that acted as a natural shelf and provided protection. They left some of their equipment at the camp, lightened their load, and proceeded diagonally towards the north face until they arrived at the starting point of the line on the same face. After fixing the first pitch of 50 meters, the pair returned to the camp and decided to continue their journey the next day. They woke up at 12 a.m. on 27 January and started their climb at around 1 a.m. on the already fixed ropes. They planned to climb to the summit in a single push without stopping, and then descend the same route during the night. Tomas took the lead on the first set of 7 pitches, since he was familiar with them after climbing them twice during past attempts. They made rapid progress and reached the point of the Burke-Proctor Traverse in only 6 hours. From this point on, Korra took the lead as his mastery over ice and mixed terrain made him better suited to lead for the next section. By 11 a.m., Korra and Tomas were at the highest point they had reached during their attempts in the past years. Meanwhile, an Italian team of 3 mountain climbers, Matteo della Bordella, David Bacci, and Matteo de Giacomo, set off around the same time Korra and Tomas began their ascent, and was making its way up on a new route on the east face of Cerro Torre. Despite taking separate paths up the mountain, the 2 groups were able to catch glimpses of each other making progress on the challenging trails of Cerro Torre. About 300 meters below the summit, the 2 groups crossed each other's paths on the north side and decided to conquer the last part of the mountain together. Korra, being the freshest and the strongest, as described by Bordella, took the lead, followed by Tomas and the Italian team. Around 5 p.m., Tomas and Korra reached the summit of Cerro Torre after completing a difficult yet magnificent route. Half an hour later, the Italian team joins them at the summit. After congratulating each other on their incredible achievements, the 2 groups decided to separate. Korra and Tomas decided to descend north at night, taking advantage of the cold night weather when the risk of falling rocks and ice is minimal. On the other hand, considering the exhaustion caused by the challenging multi-day journey, the Italian mountaineers planned to spend the night on the summit and descend the next morning along the southeast ridge, commonly known by the name the compressor route. Tomas and Korra tried to persuade the Italian climbers to descend with them, and the Italians in turn tried to convince them to descend the following morning with them. However, in the end, both parties stuck to their original plans. Korra and Tomas began descending in the darkness down the north face until they reached their camp at 2 a.m. on 28 January. Upon reaching the spot where they had left their bivouac gear and sleeping bags, they decided to take some rest before resuming their journey down the mountain. At around 3:30 a.m., the climbing duo was jolted out of their sleep by a loud, thundering sound. Hearing the sound, they realized that a massive avalanche was hurtling from above, straight towards them. They were hit by a huge avalanche of rock, ice, and snow coming down on them from above. The situation unfolded so quickly that they were unable to communicate with each other. They laid on their right sides and attempted to shield themselves from the impact. Tomas tried to use the haul bag as a shield against the disaster that struck them in the darkness, but it was in vain. Both received several hits. Their lifelines were cut, and they rolled down several meters, fortunately just before the vertical wall. Tomas could not move his back or arms, and Korra could not move his legs. Tomas turned on his flashlight, and then they realized that their lifelines had been cut, and they were standing on an ice shelf without crampons. The large granite slab previously present at the location of their camp on which they had hung all of their gear was now gone, depriving the two men of their climbing equipment. For the next few hours, Korra remained lying on the same spot, and Tomas sat 2 meters above that, in extreme pain with the growing fear of approaching death. All Tomas could do was secure his friend with a piece of rope they still had so he wouldn't fall. Finally, after hours of pain in the darkness, daybreak over Patagonia gave the two hope when Tomas miraculously found their in-reach device in the snow. This is a satellite communication device used to send messages. He sent 3 messages to separate contacts requesting help and activated SOS. However, the vertical terrain of the area hindered satellite signals from reaching the device. Korra told Tomas that due to the severe injuries he had sustained, there was no chance of his survival, and insisted Tomas descend to the level where he could catch the signals. Eventually, around 6:30 a.m., Tomas said the last goodbye to his dear friend and assured him that he would be rescued. Tomas began to descend slowly using a 50-meter-long rope he was able to find nearby, and finally reached Nevero Triangular. However, his physical injuries, extreme exhaustion, and lack of gear rendered him unable to continue his descent, so he decided to wait there for help. Meanwhile, an American climber, Kif Alcocer, was climbing in Patagonia around the same time. He was at the Nipponino base camp when he learned of an accident on Cerro Torre. He and 9 others, including German alpinist Thomas Huber, investigated after spotting an SOS signal from a headlamp high on the mountain. After hours of hiking, they eventually saw Tomas descending slowly to the triangular snowfield, which was still 1,000 feet of technical climbing above the glacier. At around 5 p.m., they met the Italian team who had just descended to the glacier at the base of Cerro Torre along the southeast ridge, still unaware of the horrors their 2 fellow climbers had faced the night before. Despite being physically and mentally exhausted at this point, Bordella still agreed to lead the rescue team, including Thomas Huber, Roger Shaley, and Roberto Treyu up the glacier. With his drone, Bordella was able to pinpoint Tomas' exact location, but unfortunately, not Korra's. It took the team nearly 3 hours to climb to the triangular field and travel 60 meters to reach Tomas. By midnight, they had found Tomas and began to descend. Thomas, Huber, and Roberto accompanied Tomas, who was later downed by an Argentine Army helicopter. He was conscious at the time of the rescue, but was in a state of total shock. He was transferred to the hospital, and he survived. The remaining 2 members of the rescue team, Bordella and Roger, stayed behind hoping to find and rescue Korra. Korra was not spotted by anyone, either by drone or binoculars. Around 3 a.m., as the cold wind blew over the mountain and the temperature dropped rapidly, Bordella began to feel dizzy. He had already gone far beyond his physical and psychological limits. That's when he and Roger also began to descend the mountain. Due to bad weather conditions, further rescue activities were halted. 3 days later, the head of Alpine Rescue Center, Carolina Cotto announced that Korra Pesce could no longer be alive after drone images revealed his body on Cerro Torre once the weather cleared. "Today we are able to zoom in on the images of a drone flown near the accident," Cotto said. "Pesce's body can be seen. It slid 50 meters below the platform where he spent the night with an Argentine companion. Without adequate protection, death from hypothermia occurs within 2 hours." Korra Pesce's remains unfortunately could not be recovered and still lie on the famous mountain where he realized one of his most important dreams just a day before his death. After this heartbreaking event, Bordella, Baci, and Giacomo named their newly completed route Brothers in Arms, in tribute to Korra Pesce and others who perished in the mountains. Despite several attempts, the body of the 41-year-old climber could not be recovered in its location on Cerro Torre. It appears that his remains will stay there. However, these unfortunate circumstances present a bureaucratic obstacle for his family, preventing them from moving forward. Because it is impossible to remove Pesce's remains from the mountain, Argentine authorities have not formally confirmed his death. Technically, his status remains missing, preventing his family from closing the case and transferring his rights to his daughter. For example, a death certificate is needed to make a will. The climber's sister, Lydia Pesce, pointed out this situation in a petition. "In addition to the great pain for the loss of Corrado, we are experiencing another tragedy," she wrote. "We family members need Corrado's death certificate as soon as possible to support the rights of his 13-year-old daughter." A crowdfunding campaign has been launched for Leia, the daughter of Corrado Pesce. You can find the link in the description below the video. Thanks for watching this story. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and turn on your notification bell to stay updated on more similar videos. We would love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to share your comments below. Until next time.